The Bacher. Dozens of members of one family of musicians who lived and played music in Thuringia for over 500 years. Bach was one of the first brand names all over the world. This family story started back in the year 1504. 110 years later, in the village of Wechmar, Veit Bach is mentioned in the church records. He was the first who played an instrument. He is the ancestor of the family. Veit Bach had a great-grandson named Johann Ambrosius, who was the father of Johann Sebastian Bach. Johann Sebastian was born in the year 1685. More precisely, he was born on the 21st of March 1685 in a city called Eisenach, very close to the present-day Bach house. He lived there until he was 9, respectively almost 10, when first his mother and shortly after that his father died. Johann Sebastian moved with his brother to the small city of Ohrdruf. In 1700, Johann Sebastian and his school friend George Erdmann walked the distance of 230 miles from Ohrdruf to the city of Lüneburg. At the particular school of St. Michaelis, he studied for 2 years. One of the school subjects was music, of course. After his successful graduation in 1702, he walked back to Thuringia and played music at the court of Weimar. He stayed there just 6 months. After that period, he became organist for the first time in his life. He was hired by the city council of Arnstadt to play at the new church. In the year 1705, he extended his vacation. He returned back to town not after 4 weeks, but after more than 12 weeks. Again, he walked from Arnstadt to Lübeck, which is 300 miles. He studied the skills of Dieterich Buxtehude. Buxtehude was so impressed with Bach's performance, he even offered him his position. Bach, however, turned down his offer, because it came with the condition that he had to marry Buxtehude's daughter, common back then. And Buxtehude's daughter was 10 years older than Johann Sebastian. Back at Arnstadt, Bach was a perfectionist. He called the students of his choir, who disrupted his teaching, Zippelfagottist. One night, student Gaius Bach and 5 fellow choir members ambushed Bach, armed with clubs. Bach, however, unleashed his rapier, which was part of the dress back then. However, there was no fight. The students ran away. The late return from Bach's trip to Lübeck and more issues with the Council of Arnstadt led to Bach's decision to move on to the city of Mühlhausen. That was in the summer of 1707. Bach became organist there. In October 1707, in Dornheim, Johann Sebastian married his second cousin, Maria Barbara Bach. Together they had 7 children. For a much bigger wage, Bach became musician at the court of Duke Wilhelm Ernst of Saxony-Weimar. He lived and performed there a total of 9 years, playing music and composing as well in that time. 1714, he was appointed concertmaster. However, Bach was passed over as music director, so he wanted to leave Weimar. Bach didn't ask to be released. He was angry. He didn't ask until later, but he got no answer from Duke Wilhelm Ernst. He had an argument with the Duke and was arrested in the year 1717 and was placed in jail for 4 weeks for stubbornness. In 1718, Bach's time with the sovereign Leopold at the city of Cöthen began, and there he was bandmaster and music director as well. When Bach and his sovereign returned from a trip, Maria Barbara had died at the age of 35 years, and, even more, she was already buried. Although there were many children in Bach's household, he married his second wife, Anna Magdalena, as late as 18 months after Maria Barbara's death. With her, he had another 13 children. Many of them died early, but 4 of Bach's sons became famous musicians as well. His sovereign and friend Leopold married in the same year, but Leopold's wife wasn't interested in music at all. The friendship between Leopold and Bach suffered from that. More challenges at Köthen made the bandmaster decide to move again, to the great city of Leipzig, to become the Thomas cantor there. Bach was officially hired as third choice at Leipzig, and that labeled his relationship to his employer, the City Council of Leipzig, from the very beginning. A first period of frustration resulted in Bach's famous letter to his school friend George Erdmann. Only the 4 years with Matthias Gessner as principal of the Thomas School was a ray of light for him. The principals before and after, both with the same name of Ernesti, gave Bach a really hard time. The St. Thomas Choir was not at all what it is today, world famous. The War of Prefects with the players Bach, Ernesti II and Krause I and II peaked when Bach complained in front of the city council. He lost, but due to multiple applications to the king, Bach was provided with satisfaction when he was appointed Royal Polish and Electoral Saxon court composer. However, the members of the city council weren't impressed much, and the king had to end the War of Prefects with his decision. The peak of Bach's music production in the era at Leipzig were the St. John Passion, the St. Matthew Passion, the Christmas Oratorio, and the Piano Exercise, along with countless more treasures. Some 1,200 works which are still in existence. Many more are lost forever. In May 1747, Bach's life was at its peak when he was called by King Frederick II at Berlin and Potsdam. King Frederick asked Johann Sebastian Bach to improvise on several instruments. Shortly after this, Bach composed the world-famous Musical Sacrifice. However, King Frederick never paid Bach, nor did he even thank Bach for making this music. In the year 1750, Bach became blind, because of a stroke, or because of diabetes, but science today is unable to tell which one. During this time, well-known occultist John Taylor was at Leipzig and operated on him twice. After 6 months, suddenly Bach was able to see again, but he had a second stroke on this very same day and died 10 days later. Johann Sebastian's widow survived him for 10 years and lived in relative poverty. Bach was hastily buried at first, then moved to another site later. He was finally laid to rest in an appropriate place close to the altar at St. Thomas Church at Leipzig. The general public forgot Bach's work until the St. Matthew Passion was performed more than 100 years after its first release by Felix Mendelssohn Bartholdy for the first time. This was when the Bach Renaissance started worldwide.